Right, Glenn, another week in the shed and another shed talk. So 3 topics this week. Let's start with homework,
house prices,
and maybe we'll wrap on single-use plastics.
Sounds good.
Right, let's get into it. All right, Glenn, so first up we're going to talk about homework.
Yeah.
I'll start the 5 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah, cool, Jess. Obviously, you've got a couple of kids that are still in school, later in the school years. How do you find their homework is going after school, and do you agree with it?
Well, my kids have had homework, I guess, pretty much through their entire schooling. Not a fan of homework. I must say that I'm anti-homework. I think they should be able to get through the curriculum and do it in the school time because, personally, my belief is that the kids out of school have a lot of extracurricular activities, like swimming and sports and
part-time jobs.
Big dance, part-time jobs now that they are older, which is all a part of learning and a part of life. And I guess when the school sets homework for them, it interferes with that time as a family or the things that they're doing out of school.
I think it's almost traumatic for kids. Like, I know my kids are a bit younger than your kids, but they come home from school, they're already mentally drained from school, they've been learning all day, they've been playing with their mates. Then to come home and say, right, now we need to sit down and do another half an hour, sometimes it's almost traumatic. And I think there's almost ruptures caused in families because of homework, with the yelling and you got to do this and you got to do that. And I think it does more harm than good. And I agree with you, mate. If they can't get it done in the 8 hours or 6 hours, sorry, they're not at work. 6 hours they're at school. Well, maybe we need to look at the system and rearrange that a little bit.
Exactly. Well, personally, I think the school day could be a little bit longer because, if we talk about a balance of like parents trying to get into the workforce, I guess having kids finish at 3 o'clock in the afternoon is pretty hard on people who work. If they finish at 5, the kids are finishing school. So there's actually an after-school care component there. But if the kids can if they need to do an hour of homework a night, extend the school day till 4 o'clock. Right? They're supervised, they're motivated, because a lot of kids wouldn't be motivated to work at home. And we've just seen through people who have had to homeschool through COVID how hard it is to actually do that at home. And I don't really distinguish much between homework and that home learning, right? So if they can be in an environment with tools and supervision and teachers can keep them on track, a system, I think that 1 hour of an afternoon of work might be more beneficial in the classroom than being left to their own devices at home where, like you say, might cause family friction.
I think they probably make the school day 6.5 hours because of the young children, and their minds probably aren't thinking past that. They're mentally fatigued. So I don't know whether that's the answer with young kids. Probably disagree.
But it might be a free or a sport activity in the afternoon then, because a lot of these kids, if their parents are working, might be in after-school care. So maybe for those primary school kids, for example, the day is extended, but that last activity in the afternoon is not really an academic subject. It's more some sort of free play or sport or something like that where the younger kids can spend that extra time at school.
Yeah, because I don't think the younger kids would benefit from extra hours. Maybe the older kids would, but I'm not sure whether the younger kids would, just for the mental capacity and
there's
how
a
much
lot
they can
of
take
pressure
in
on
a
kids
day.
now.
Yeah, that's right. They come home now and they're fried, mate. And they come home hungry, angry, all of that stuff, and you probably get that with the older kids as well, but sometimes it is hard to manage. But no, I definitely think that they need to look at taking homework out of schools. I know there's a school in our local community that doesn't have homework, and that's the Good Shepherd at Augustine Heights there, and I know through one of my friend's children that goes there, he said it's just so much nicer and his wife's a teacher at a different school, and he said it's just so much nicer in an afternoon.
I think it takes away not only from that family time in an afternoon as well, but my kids, being in high school, they get assignments set on school holidays. So you'll have a couple of weeks off. You might want to go away somewhere, and all of a sudden these kids are disadvantaged because you've gone away on holidays. You might have gone, travel is a bit difficult at the moment, but if you've gone away to the Gold Coast or far north Queensland, you've taken that time away, those kids aren't going to be doing those assignments while they're on holiday. So if they do get back, that deadline of getting that assignment is still there, which just is extra pressure.
Well, it's extra pressure for them too away from school, knowing that they've got to come back and complete something when they get home. So you might get back home on a Saturday, it's due on Monday. All of a sudden that Sunday is a cram day, and the whole time they've been away, they haven't been able to relax anyway. So,
and I don't know about you, but when I finish work or go on holidays, I don't take my work with me. I have that downtime, and I think the kids having the holidays should have that same opportunity to have some downtime.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Jace.
Yeah, we're agreed on that.
Yeah, we are agreed on that one.
So that's it. Maybe principles of Australia. Get rid of the homework.
Yes, agree.
All right, and look, realistically, that's just taken us to 5 minutes. Actually, we've got 12 seconds
12
left.
seconds.
All right, so let's just chant. Get rid of homework. We'll use the full 5 minutes up.
We're not chanting.
No, we're not going to. But look, we're agreed, and yeah, it's just like from us. Let us know below if you think homework, good or bad. There's the 5 minutes.
All right, Jay. Second topic in the shed tonight is house prices.
Yep.
Now, I know.
We'll start the 5 minutes, mate.
Start the 5 minutes.
Five's on. Let's go.
I know in Queensland or Brisbane as such lately, house prices have gone through the roof, not only if you're trying to buy into the market, but also in the rental side of the market. Now, I think that's because everyone's trying to get out of the COVID states. Would you agree with that? Do you think people are moving up here, going, Melbourne, probably didn't agree with what you did, Sydney?
I think that's putting some pressure on, but I think house prices in Australia have just been skyward for, as long as I can remember.
I think they go up gradually. I don't know if they get a jump at like 6% like they have lately.
Yeah, it used to be based on a theory of you'd have like 10% every 10 years, right? So if you're an investor, that's what anyone selling your house would say. Well, you'd expect that house is going up by 10% every 10 years, right? So sometimes I guess that would be a couple of years of flat and then some spikes. And I do take that at the moment, things are going crazy. But I think Queensland has always suffered from interstate migration because property prices in Sydney, especially inner Sydney, and Melbourne are far greater than they are in Brisbane. So if you're wanting to move up from down south and you sell your house down there, you're a lot more cashed up to go into an auction or even force the market up in a bidding war to get into the market here and still be in a far better proximity to the city, potentially a larger house, larger block of land than you would be for what you sold down south.
Oh, absolutely. I have friends that live in Sydney and also in Melbourne, and I don't know how they pay the mortgage every week, mate, to be honest. It's just ridiculous for what they have so far out of the city. They're commuting 40 minutes to work. And some of the prices are over $1 million for an average size house. So I can definitely see them looking at Queensland as a really good investment because we are going to go up and we are going to get to that point probably in the next 10 or 15 years. So if you buy in now at 500, well, let's say we'll just bump it up to 550 because long term, I'm still going to make 450 grand in the next 15 years or 20 years.
Mind you, buying a $450,000 house probably within 50 kilometres of Brisbane CBD at the moment, it's a bit of an ask. There's prices are starting to get up there. The median house price in Brisbane, I think, is closing in on $1 million.
Really?
Yeah. And then the other thing that is people too that are getting that sea change, wanting to get out of Brisbane and actually go to the regions. The regions are suffering the same thing as well, right? So that's putting pressure on those people who are living out there, maybe trying to get in the market in those regional communities. Their house prices are going up as well.
Do you think the real estates have some play in this in Queensland, knowing that the buyers are cashed up and they obviously going to make more commission the higher they sell the price at for the property or the listing?
Well, yes and no. Like I've gone through a property sale in recent times, and the problem I struggle with real estate agents is they don't know who they work for. Right? If I'm selling a house and I've engaged a real estate to do that, they seem to befriend the buyer and then go, oh, look, we'll go back to the seller and we'll do this deal, and stuff like that. Go, hang on, I'm paying the commission here for your work, so you work for me. That's one gripe I've got, and I think it has changed a little bit recently because the seller is now in the box seat. So
absolutely,
that, as you say, the real estate agent is going to be getting the best price, and because people are almost like silent auctioning on houses, like I guess if there's a listing for $560,000, you got the money ready to go. It's nothing for someone else to come in and go, well, I'll put an offer, because the ads you see are literally offers over 500 or offers over. So it becomes a bidding war. It's not an auction, but you could go in and say, hey, 550, thanks, and then all of a sudden someone else is coming in and going, well, I'll go 560, and then there's real estate entertaining offers from someone else. So they're going to get a greater commission as a real estater, but the seller's the one who's really going to win out in that deal, not the buyer.
How do you think people are now going in the rental market that are young? You've moved out of home, you're 22, 23, you're out with a couple of mates. How the hell do you save a deposit?
Well, I think it's the same pressure, right? So if we talk about house prices going up, if you're an investor, right, they've got to buy that house. So all of a sudden there's that bulk of money that has to be repaid. So of course the rent's going up, which does exactly as you're saying. Anyone who wants to get in, you've got to get in with a group of mates and share that burden, which is I guess how most of us probably got into housing.
Yeah.
Or some sort of accommodation out of home when we were young.
Yeah, it was renting a house with 2 mates or whatever it might have been.
I feel that my biggest concern is there's so many people out there, and current economic circumstances are only going to impact it. But if they can't get into the housing market, you've got to remember that a landlord's trying to almost pay a mortgage, so he's going to be charging rent, which is almost the same as getting into the housing market.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, rent's expensive, and I think even then there's bidding and deals going on in the background to get into these rental properties.
Oh, I've heard people paying up to 6 months in advance just to get a rental property.
Yeah,
and I think it's I think that adds to homelessness because some people just can't find somewhere to live.
Yeah, it makes it hard. Anyway, there's a 5 minutes. Let us know what you think about that. If you're in a situation where you've been outbid for a property or you're finding it hard to get into the rental market. Comment below, join the conversation and let us know your thoughts.
Here we go.
All right, Glenn, so let's move on to our third and final topic, which is single-use plastics.
Yep.
Let's go. 5 minutes, starts now.
Well, I'm against it being phased out.
Really?
Yeah, I am a little bit, mate. Have you had a paper straw from McDonald's?
Yeah.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
It's like putting cotton wool in your mouth.
Yeah, but I've got another theory as well, right? You can just take the lid off and drink it like a cup.
Yeah, but that's... Yeah, well, maybe you can, but...
I get your point,
I
though.
thought of that.
It is the same, and straws, my kids complain about it. Straws are worse when they're left in there longer term, right? I think initially...
They don't even last the whole drink, mate.
Well, it depends how fast you drink. But look, Queensland's actually introducing this across the board, right? So it's not going to be just straws. It's single-use plastic cups, plastic plates. So when you have a barbecue and you normally go for the plastic plates instead of doing the dishes, you bin in them.
Yeah.
They're all going to get banned, right? So catering companies, anyone who's using those sorts of disposable single-use plastics, they're getting phased out and they will be replaced.
What's the alternative?
Well, the alternative, and I think even in the future too, just to quickly touch on it, is even things like the disposable coffee cup is going to be phased out, right? Because they're not recyclable. A lot of people think, it's cardboard on the outside, and I see it in businesses and that all the time. Recycle bins full of the coffee cups, they're not recyclable because they're actually got a polyurethane or an internal layer, so the cardboard doesn't fall apart, right? So they're next, but back to plastics. I think some, like if you're talking about fast food cups and that, some people have gone away from a straw and actually gone a bit like a can top.
Yeah.
So you actually just puncture the plastic
I think
on,
Hungry Jack's
but still a plastic lid on top of the cup.
Well, that's a single-use plastic.
Exactly, right.
So is that going to go?
Well, potentially it's going to face that in the future, right? So there's some challenges, but I think one interesting conversation, whether you're for or against it, one thing that I've seen is we got rid of the really light single-use plastic bags and replaced it with heavier plastic bags.
That I still put in the bin as more rubbish.
Well, that's my concern. I have more of them now because I get home delivery in my shopping and they don't bring the crates in anymore. They bag everything. Mm-hmm. Right, so it's really just single use.
What do you do with them then?
I try to give them back.
Do you?
Yeah, so they will, like my supermarket will take them back at the next delivery, but I find that they pile up because if you go to the shop, forgot your bag, you get those. I've actually got, I think, more of these thicker plastics sitting around and I try to hand mine back, but I'm guessing there's a lot of people at home who've got those who are doing as you're saying. They just become a rubbish bag and then they go in the landfill.
The bags just go straight in the bags that I've bought as rubbish bags because now I've got 2 sets of bags that I can put rubbish in.
Yeah, so we've actually gone to a thicker disposable bag, which doesn't make much sense. But I have heard though, I think it was a statistic the other day that plastic waste from bags, etc., has dropped by over 75%.
Yeah, right.
Right, so people are, I guess, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Like I said, I try to do the right thing and hand the bags back and then get them recycled and they come back in bags. But yeah, when it comes to things like, you can imagine your takeaway containers, your plastic knives and forks.
What about a Coke bottle?
Well, that's recyclable, right? And you get your 10-cent refund container refund for that. It is, but there's a scheme to actually collect those and recycle them. There's no scheme to recollect a plastic cutlery. Right, so that's why they give you the incentive now, I guess, of the 10 cents to hand your cans back, hand your bottles back.
But how many people do that, Chase?
I think a lot do. I do. Yeah, or even if you don't take them back for your 10 cents, they still can at least go in your recycle bin, and that's been recycled. So I know now, is it Coca-Cola Amatil, all of their plastic bottles are actually now made from 100% recycled plastic.
Okay.
Right, so if that, that cycle continues, that's a great thing. And I think the challenge we've got is, nobody, like I said, barbecue, scrapes the plastic plate, it goes into landfill. That's not been recycled, right?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Etc. And I know there's a lot of marine damage with like straws, especially those small cocktail straws. You know, they end up in rubbish, find their way into waterways, etc. And that's one of the reasons the government's taking action. But I think back to, you know, when you see older shows, and that we're not that old, that we had the brown paper bags at the supermarkets, etc. But before plastics,
I'm not that old, mate.
Before plastics, that was commonplace,
Yeah,
right?
right.
There was none of this, and we've introduced a society full of this disposable plastics. And I think what people are trying to do now is be a little bit more socially conscious and start to reverse that flippant, just, you know, single-use toss away.
So we're going to do that for 4 million Australians. What about the other?
Yeah, well, I think the rest of Australia.
And then you look at the rest of the world.
Well, exactly. I mean, once again, I think we've had this discussion on other things. You know,
Yeah,
we can't
I
not do
understand
something
that.
if the rest of the world's not doing something. But
Yeah.
Australia or Queensland's doing something. I know that pretty much the 10-cent recycle bottle thing is now national.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find that other states will, slowly phase, you know, these single-use plastics out. Oh, there you go. 5 minutes. Once again, let us know. Are you with Glenn? Do you know, hate the paper straw?
I'm not a fan of the paper straw.
Nah.
It's shit house.
Oh, well, yeah, paper straw, I mean, yeah, transition thing. But I don't think they're going to be giving you metal straws or anything anytime soon.
What about bamboo?
There you go. Maybe there's a bamboo straw
Get
opportunity.
on to it, Maccas.
All right, guys. That's topic number 3.
Well, there you go, Jace. 3 hot topics tonight.
Yep.
Obviously, that's it's going to wrap us up. So, like, subscribe, share, get on the comments. If you agree with us, disagree with us, please let us know and give us some ideas for some other topics that you might want to have us talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Your feedback is important and it's going to drive our conversation. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Yeah.